Another short live stream that people can enjoy, maybe get a little information and learn a little something. All right, Norfolk Southern Railway. All right, the railroad, one of them. BSNF is another. I'm sure there's a few others out there, but this is becoming a common event, at least one a week. And this is usually something that was very, very rare. A derailment of a train. Okay. We're going to slow down, forget about what the news tells us to believe, and look at the grand picture of things. Because they slip up and they tell you one thing one day and then tell you the other the next day, and then it just, the point gets lost and everybody is up in arms, all right? All right. I live in Ohio on the opposite side of where East Palestine, aka used to be called Mechanicsburg, where Norfolk Southern's train derailed. They took a toxic shit right there in the Ohio River. And the Ohio River flows downward from that point through the southern part of Ohio, the border in Kentucky, right by southern Indiana, still Kentucky, by southern tip of Illinois, that horn there, and Missouri, and goes straight on out to the Gulf of Mexico it runs into the Mississippi River, and then because that's the Ohio River, and then it goes down in the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, all that toxic crap probably went down there. As I've told you, some people that have heard me when they would talk economics and gave you the grand scheme of things of our economic system in this country. This proves my point. The mass of people in our economic system are required to live with the consequences of the decisions made by the corporate leaderships, decisions from which you and I are excluded. Whatever else you call that system, it's not democratic. Because I know most Americans have a fetish when it comes to that we live in a democratic, free country. Okay, you can step away from that fantasy and look at the reality. Look at the consequences those people are going to have to live with. But let's go back a little bit further, a few weeks or about a month before that first derailment. There was a labor dispute with the workers of the railroad that they were wanting sick days. No big. They were wanting 7 paid sick days. Workers begging for more of what they've helped produce. And it's not like the company can't afford it. They're making billions and billions in profits. But when it comes to paying the workers a more substantial, livable wage, we don't have the money for that. Oh, that's their excuse. But because 2 things. They didn't give them their 7 days in the arbitrary contract, union contract. They wanted to strike. And our government stepped in and took away that right for them to strike. Well, yeah, he can do that. But, they're going to have to look at the consequences of that decision now, don't we? That, okay, our rights are arbitrary. And from the government's standpoint of view, we need that freight to keep moving. Yeah, we need that freight to keep moving. It's bad enough that we have a shortage as it is, stores being replenished, or companies getting the chemicals they need to make some toxic shit to sell to us, or whatever is on that train. All this would have not have happened if they gave the workers what they wanted, which the railroad could have easily afforded and gave them more of a livable wage and 7 sick days like they wanted. No, they didn't do that. Okay, now, when you look at history of workers, what happens when you do that? Let's look at the consequences of that. By not allowing them to strike, arbitrarily, which is their right, and not coming to terms with the new union agreement that they wanted 7 sick days. Well, back in ancient Egypt, the workers used to wear wooden shoes called sabots. And when they wanted more money or whatever it is that they wanted, and they weren't getting it, they flung their shoes into the machines to stop them. And that's where the term sabotage comes from. We got 3 derailments. Now, I can't prove it, but it's an avenue as an investigator to think about. Yeah, somebody can go walking down some railroad tracks because they're not being monitored. There's not cameras everywhere. Maybe 20 to 30 miles, maybe even 100 miles away from civilization. There's nobody around these railroad tracks. They come up there with a crowbar and loosen or pry up some of those spikes that hold down a portion of the track, just enough for the heavy train locomotive to go across. But then when it goes across, it loosens up the bolts, the track is loose, and then here comes a couple more cars, and all of a sudden the rail flies off, and then you got a derailment. I'd bet money that that's probably what happened. Some of the rail workers were sabotaging the work because they didn't get what they rightfully can arbitrarily get. And I'm not a union driver. My dad was, he was a Teamster. Even though I'm not in a union, I'm a part of OOIDA, which is for owner operators. But I support unions. I support working families. And I support small family businesses. But these big corporations, no. They don't care about you or anybody else. They don't even care about some of the people that they work with or make business deals with. I think it was yesterday, there was that derailment in Alabama, 80 miles northwest of Birmingham. Well, I live in Ohio. There was that one in Mechanicsburg, but I didn't know that they changed it to East Palestine. We had one in Springfield, which is closer to where I live. It's on the other side of Dayton, Ohio. But this is all having to do with work. And the unions are starting to mounting a comeback, and here's why. You look at history, you look at where we are, and look where our grandparents or great-grandparents were in their day, 100 years ago. They're basically almost in the same position that we're in. And the things changed in 1933 when FDR became president in 32, when he got elected. And he was pressured by a coalition that gave the American people the New Deal that made the middle class in this country. That New Deal is what caused it. That's why we had the 1950s and 60s and 70s was, the Brady Bunch and Leave It to Beaver, and everybody was doing well. Yes, the mass of people were doing well. But when the late 70s, early 80s came around, slowly, every year, take, until we are where we are right now. Because in 1978, that's when wages froze. What your money can buy you, what the money you make, and what it can buy you is the same as it was in 1978. Yes, you may be making more money, but you're spending more money. And at the rate of inflation, it's getting worse. When was the last time they raised minimum wage? What, 2009, I think it was? It's 7.25 an hour. Well, look at the minimum wages in other countries. Like their McDonald's employees there make 22.50 an hour, and at the moment they are hired, they get 5 weeks paid vacation, no question. But I don't want to fall too off the rocker. But I'm going to give people something to think about. This is something that they're not mentioning in the news. And it's obvious. This is not a coincidence that these trains are derailing. This is something that we were lucky to hear about a train derailment in about one every 10 years. Before that Norfolk derailment, at the top of your head, without looking at Google, when was the last derailment you heard about in the States? I can tell you, the last one I heard about it missed me by about an hour and 45 minutes. It was up in Washington State, and that Amtrak train derailed that was right next to the interstate. Because when I found out about it, and I looked at the time, I said, I had just went through there. And shit, that was, hell, I believe that was like 2015, I think. I could be wrong. But that was the last derailment I heard about. But look, this past month, we've had 4 or 5 derailments, and 3 of them are by Norfolk Southern. Now, there is another avenue to look at. I will point that out because I look at all avenues. Our infrastructure, yeah, it's shit. But people who work on the railroad, majority of them you have to have a college degree in engineering to work on the railroad. You can't be a dumbass. They have sensors on the track that can detect heat, the overheating of a wheel. They have to have that because if you're hauling flammable chemicals and one of those wheels get heated up, it could spark a fire and you got a major explosion. Imagine one of those railroad cars full of propane. That would be like an atomic bomb going off. I would put that right next to, look up Toronto, Canada, propane explosion. I was there when that happened. I was in a motel and I was standing at the window because everybody was talking about this fire. And when that exploded, I actually felt the heat. And I was in an enclosed hotel building with glass, and this was far away. I felt the heat of that explosion. And yeah, when you heard the boom, it busted windows too. That would be the equivalent of one of those rail cars exploding if it was full of propane. And YouTube could take this video down because, oh, we can't let anybody talk about this. No, no, no. This ain't got nothing to do with anything political per se. I'm not taking a right or left, Republican, Democrat, left wing. I'm not taking any sides because to me, they're bullshit. Not one side's better than the other. See, when you talk politics, see, that's what everybody wants to step away from. But when you point out the facts, you can run from it all you want. You can like a lot of Americans have that mannerism of a 3-year-old. They believe that they're looking at a scary thing, so they put his or her hands over their eyes and pretend the scary thing is now gone. It only takes a little more maturity to understand. You can put your hands over your eyes, but the scary thing is still there. And when you remove your hands, boom, it's right there. But see, I'm not one to complain. I point out the faults, but then I give answers. And the answers were this: they should have settled that arbitrary contract, give the employees what they want, and they wouldn't even be in this mess. We probably would not have had them taking a toxic shit in the Ohio River at the start of it. Now it's going to go all the way down. The entire Ohio River now is trashed. That's going to be one hell of a mess for them to clean up. But you notice every derailment since, they say, oh, there wasn't any toxic chemicals or anything like that. Are you sure? The news make sure they say that right first out. I'm like, are you sure? Because they said the same thing in Springfield, and then they found out differently a few days later because of the smell. And I can tell you exactly where that derailed. That derailed next to the ghetto in Springfield, where usually your people who are live in poverty, your low wage people live. And if I had some of my friends from the west side of Dayton, here's how they would say it, and they're blunt. That's where all the niggas live there. I think Buddha, you know exactly, that's exactly what they would say. You can call it a racist statement, but I'm just repeating what they would say. Because that's exactly what they would say. They made sure that derailment happened in the poor neighborhood. You're not going to see a derailment or hear about a derailment or a toxic spill in places like Beverly Hills or the rich parts of neighborhoods and cities. You're not going to ever hear that. That's why their attitude is like, I don't live there. I don't. My water source isn't from there. I don't care. Let those people deal with it. Like I said, you're living with the consequences of the decisions made by the corporate leaderships, decisions from which we are excluded. Me, I'm tired of all these self-entitled billionaires born with a silver spoon and being led by these people. There is one bright star that I want to talk about. The senator, I believe he was the governor of the senator of Pennsylvania that recently just got elected. He's a bald guy, got tattoos on his arm. He was wearing a hoodie and blue jeans. Just a normal working class guy, and became senator or governor. I can't remember which, and I can't remember his name. And I'm like, right on, Pennsylvania. You didn't hire a turd wearing a suit, because to me, that's all they are. Let's fill DC with a bunch of, and in your governments in your country too. Let's fill our government with working class people, and then you might see something different happen. The problem is, I would be one of those people that would do this because I can't be bought. I don't care how much money you have. I look at a check, oh, a few million, huh? Oh, that's nice. I'm like, here you go. I don't want it. I don't sell people down that I would serve down the river. That's the whole purpose of being in government or whatever, is you're serving the people, not your self-interest. And serving the people is a daunting task. That's not easy. Not everybody's going to agree, and people are going to trash you. But I would do something for the greater good of all, not just for a tiny minority who's collecting billions and billions of dollars. I really can't. Well, I'm not, Sean, I'm not completely white. I'm pink. Two of my grandparents are Native American, and the other two was German Irish. So I'm half white, half red. So I'm pink. That's why I tell people, and a lot of my friends that are minorities, whatever you want to call it, I make that joke. I said, y'all can only hate portions of me. What portions is that? But I'm serious. If you guys had, I'm sure Buddha has African American friends, black friends. What I said, she knows that if they were talking about that topic, she would hear that exactly from one of them. In truth, those exact words and the way I said it, you would hear from one of her friends if they were talking about the subject. And hell, man, I got nephews and nieces that are half black and half white. I live in a very diverse family. Thanks for confirming it, Buddha. I appreciate it. That lets everybody know that I'm not lying. And what they do to these people is despicable. Exactly. I agree. That's why I know people are in tune to what's going on in the news. And on platforms like this, they don't want us to talk about it because they know that we'll see how much full of shit that they are. The media has been lying to us, folks, for a long time and have been caught red handed of lying. How many times do they have to lie to us when people realize you're being lied to? I got to believe everything our news says after they had lied to us, lied us into wars? No. I had two nephews that went to that freaking war. One of them was in both as a combat medic. And to this day, they're still grappling with that. We went over there thinking we were defending our freedom, in which we went over there and it was all over oil fields and the arbitrarily slaughtering of innocent civilians and children. Now you know why a lot of our veterans drink themselves to death and are depressed. And it's not their fault. They followed orders. It's the ones who made those decisions who I'm attacking. I have no problems with our soldiers in the military. They'll do their duty. But when you get them to do a dishonorable act and they find out about it, that's when they start to question everything. And I hate saying this, I don't take glee in this. The United States is not the country it once was. And I look at it and it's like all division. We're more powerful when we're together. But when you want to destroy a society and a country, you divide its people up. United we stand, divided we fall. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people don't see that. Like to this day, we got a lot of right wing nut jobs that got probably a bunch of weapons in their basement with thousands of rounds of ammunition, knowing we just got invaded by some foreign power. All right, they're going to grab their weapon and run outside their house, and who are they going to shoot? Well, I'm going to shoot me some liberals today. I'm going to shoot me some minorities today. Like I said, I know of a few people that have done that. The house is on fire. The first thing they ran to was their gun. That tells you how twisted some of these people are. Instead of saving the children that could burn to death in their beds, he went after his gun first. And these are the type of people that we live around here in the States. I did this live stream because nobody's doing one. I figured out the hell I'd do another one. I just got news about another derailment in Norfolk Southern. And I'm sorry I can't identify. I mean, I can't read the chat, guys. I'm busy driving. I don't want to wreck my truck. And I'm not up to date of this language that is being used, and everybody. Somebody told me, "Man, you're woke." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm awake. What am I supposed to be? Something else? If I'm not awake, I'm asleep." And they laugh at me. I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What's this woke bullshit?" And I'm sorry, I use Webster's dictionary or Black's Law dictionary when it comes to defining words. It's pretty sad that you can't go in a grocery store and ask where the tea bags are, and you get a bunch of youngsters laughing at you. Oh, he said tea bag. Like, what is that supposed to mean? And then when I found out, I'm like, are they freaking serious? That's when I came up with that. Okay, what is it the other way when the girl sits on your face? Coffee filtering? Ugh. Even though I've tried many a times on certain issues, you're not going to find equality in everything. It's just the way Mother Nature designed it. Mother Nature will always have her way. You can fight it all you want, but Mother Nature's going to have her way. It's like this. Men can easily get surgery and become a woman. But women, and I'm sorry, Buddha, because I know you're lesbian, women, on the other hand, cannot go and, well, they can, but it's not successful and it's gross and it looks like something from a Frankenstein movie. It doesn't work. Women could never be a man and have the parts. Maybe 1,000 years from now, if our medical technology, maybe. But now, no, it could not happen. You'll have a piece of ugly flesh hanging there that you're not going to feel and can easily become infected and kill you, and a lot of other things can happen. But men, on the other hand, like I tell Sammy Chavez, she's wanting to get that surgery. I said, Sammy, if they ask me, I will approve. But you have to be damn sure that this is what you want because there's no reversing it. Once it's done, it's done. But men can become women through surgery. Yes, it can happen. But women cannot become men. And yeah, that's unequal. You can blame Mother Nature for it. But here's the plus for women. Women can go and get an augmentation and a tummy tuck, meaning they can have their breast enlarged. But can men get their dick enlarged? Yes, but the surgery is not like women trying to become men. It's not successful and it has bad consequences. And a lot of people in the medical field will try talking you out of it because it's not successful. As a man, your equipment, you got what you were born with. And there's nothing you can do about it. Is that equal? No. It's the way Mother Nature intended it. Maybe 1,000 years from now, when the medical technology's gotten better and they found out how to reconnect nerve endings and things like that, maybe. But we don't have that technology. That's why it's not going to happen. Not equal, people. You're not going to find equality in everything. And I've had a run-in with this bullshit about toxic masculinity, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? when those girls were unloading my truck. I was laughing. I took a photo without them knowing about it. Should have took video, but I heard them talking about it. I didn't feel threatened by any one of those. I was asking them all about yoga to prove a point, and not one of them could say one thing about yoga or knew anything about it. But they're wearing the pants. And they're like, what do you think we know about yoga? I said, well, you got yoga pants on. I figured you do yoga. And then they looked at me like I was weird. That's Western women for you. But if I was angry and had to fire back the shots, I'd have been like, if it wasn't for toxic masculinity, none of us would be here now, would we? But they believe that they were like Jesus, they were immaculately conceived. No, I'll tell you how I was conceived. In early 1970, my parents got a little tipsy off of some champagne after shortly, I think it was after my brother's birthday. They were in a panel rec room in the basement on furniture that was plastic covered. Toxic masculinity. The only reason why I know this is because my dad was talking about it with a friend of his. And I'm like, oh, so that's how I was conceived. Okay. Yeah, I'll make jokes about it. Why the hell not? Yeah, panel rec rooms were real popular in the 60s and 70s. And they to protect the furniture, you covered it in these black plastic things. You put the plastic coating over the furniture, and you take the cushions and you put them in these plastic things with a zipper. And like if you spilled something, you just wipe it off. I remember sitting on those bastards, and you sit down and you slip off, and now you're on the floor. But that was the end thing back then. But we've evolved since. Me, I like plush, very soft furniture. Like a lazy boy rocker recliner. Yeah, give me one of those. Like you don't be stupid. If you're going to eat something or drink something, you put it in a stable area where it can't be knocked over and fall onto the furniture and stain it. And if you're eating something, eat at the kitchen table, man. Or if you're going to eat in the living room while watching TV, have a small table, scoot up a little bit. Don't lean back all the way in the chair. Scoot up a little bit where you're like almost in a squatted position, but you're still sitting on the chair and you're using the table or the coffee table. But some people are clumsy, but some people don't want to do it that way. They'd rather lay back, have the chicken wings laying on their chest and getting that sauce all over them. I'm not a messy person like that. But I like my toxic masculinity, damn it. That's what attracts women to us. Well, traditionally. But I'll tell you what, man, I've been called a bastard so much in my life by women because of my toxic masculinity. And I'm like, well, I must be doing something right. And then my brother would hear that, and he'd say, wait a minute. He goes, you got that wrong. Sean and Shane are not bastards. Our parents were married when they were conceived. We're the bastards. All my other siblings, my brother Jack, would say that. No, we're the bastards, Sean and Shane. You're not the bastards. Because mom and dad were married when you were conceived. I thought that was hilarious. But nah, I feel left out, man. So I got that Norfolk Southern crap out of the way. I just trying to open people up. Say, hey, man, people, let's think about this for a minute and let's talk about it. Let's see what happens. Let's be real here, not live in a fantasy land. Now there is a woman that's doing some good investigating, and I'm not saying she's right or wrong. It's good information, but I'd still keep it at a distance because thanks to QAnon, they kind of ruined it for critics of whatever topic you want to bring up. The critics of that topic, conspiracy theorists. I tell you what, they got a hell of imagination. So that's why if they're good people, if you're looking for somebody to think outside the box and give scenarios. But some of these scenarios are very so far fetched. It's like, no. I'm like, okay, we got it on paper. Let's move that to the side. And if anything comes up that alleviates to that, we'll come back to it. But other than that, let's put the fantasy shit over here and let's go with what's real. I don't disclude it, but I'm like, let's just keep this over here for now because some of it sounds very foolish. Like one of the all time favorites was the lizard people, and I'm like, people, I seen that TV show as a kid, and they remade it, and it was only like 2 or 3 seasons. V, I'm like, really? Are you people really gonna believe that shit? I'm like, man, people stop watching these fantasy shows because that's all it is, just to entertain you for a while. It's some other entertainment to get you to stop from masturbating if you're alone. That's another thing to think about. Because me, it's overrated, and I don't want to put. I don't like putting in the work effort. Oh, you got the joke, didn't you, Sean Tuber? Yeah, look at a woman sitting on your face. Yeah, take a coffee filter and put it over your face. Basically, that's what it is: coffee filtering, tea bagging, coffee filtering. Hey, why not? But I take credit of that joke because when I first learned about this term tea bagging, I'm like, oh, okay, what is it the other way? Coffee filtering? Sure, I got a bunch of flack over it, but a lot of people did get the joke and laugh about it. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why is it that I get attacked for creating that thought, but the person that didn't create the teabagging part didn't get attacked? If it's good for the one, it's good for the other. If you're going to laugh at teabagging, you're going to laugh at my joke too. Now that's equality. Yeah, but some of these harebrained notions and crazy ideas, I'm like, okay, what's next? Some of these ideas, is it going to help humanity or just make us look even more foolish to the rest of the world? That's why it doesn't surprise me when people go to other countries. Oh, you're an American, and then they run the other way. When it gets to that point, that wouldn't surprise me. Oh, how you doing, Japan Mom? I just glanced over and saw her name there. Japan Mom, aren't you up kind of late? I know the kids are in bed asleep. Because it's what, 3:24 in the morning over there? Japan Mom, I know you have to deal with your kids every. Do you actually get quality sleep? I mean, that I'm worried about that because you're raising four children, and that's a job in itself. By yourself, no doubt. That's why I got all the respect in the world for you. And I'm like, if I was there, I'd be like, look, darling, you need to get some sleep. Because I know Asian women, you want them to get quality sleep because if they don't, they can be very cranky. Oh, okay. Well, that's different. If the young one wakes up, and I remember doing that when my oldest was a baby. She'd wake up in the middle of the night crying because she's hungry, and feed her a bottle, change the diaper, and as you're feeding the bottle, she'd get about halfway through and fall right back to sleep. Put her back in the crib, and I'd go back to sleep. Oh yeah, I did my fair share. Because I knew if I didn't, at that time she would wake up and say, "Why is it always me that's waking up with the children and changing the diaper?" Blah, blah. And I'm like, "I'll do it. I don't want to hear it, so I would do it." So I didn't have to hear that because I knew if I didn't do it, I'd get the complaint. Like I'd wake up in the morning, "You are a bastard," and then I'm like, "What's going on now? You wouldn't help me with the children." I already knew what I would hear, so I'm like, you know what? I'm not looking for a reward or anything. I'm just doing it so I don't have to hear that. Oh, you have to go get some sleep, single mom Japan mom, I call her. Yeah, yeah, get some sleep. You need it. But thanks for coming. I got to tell you, folks, Japan mom there, I got all the respect in the world for her. She keeps a good household. But my concern is this: she has got to have time for herself, even if it's maybe an hour or two. If I was there, I'd like let's hire a sitter. You're going out for a few hours. Yes, go out and show her a good time. Karaoke, nice dinner. Try to eat rice with chopsticks. That's very challenging for me, but it would be fun. But a lot of good mothers really could use that because they don't get time to themselves. But she proves that that mostly is a woman's job. That's the way women were designed to be moms, take care of the family, the well-being, mental well-being, and the physical health of all children. And me, I find that impressive. There's only few that were able to pull both off. Go to college and get a profession, but then put that on hold after they graduate and then make a family. And then when those kids grow up and they can handle themselves for the most part, then that woman goes back into the workforce and does her profession. Only few women have been able to pull that one off. Okay, guys, I don't see anybody here, but you watched the replay. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to everybody who showed up to this short live stream. Y'all have a good day. Bye bye.